What is going on, everybody? If you are curious how much longer I'm going to be stuck in prison, I mean, my family's basement, it is one more stream after this. So I'm here for this stream, and then Monday's stream, and then I will be released. So just deal with it a little bit longer. If you guys think this is a pain for you, just understand that for me, I literally forget how I set this up in the Ratchet setup every single time. So I have to fuck with it again each time. So, neither of us are happy here. Okay? I want to go back to my old setup where everything is already done and ready to go. So let me take a look real quick at what was the super I missed. Looks like I missed a super. Good news is the chapter is really good. So good, in fact, that we got to get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Let's get the stream likes up. The chapter was really exciting. Really, really exciting. I feel like Oda kind of played us with how he set up this chapter, making it seem like all doom and gloom and stuff, and then leading up to the Straw Hats just being like totally unfazed by any of the shit that's going on. So this is from DW Crow. Thanks a lot. I feel like this chapter telegraphed Kizaru turning on the Navy. He speaks like Kuzan did at the beginning of Ohara, and then Garcia says to blow up civilian ships like a Kainu. It's an interesting possibility. Because Kizaru is one that I always kind of felt he was the least fleshed out of all the admirals, and that's including the new admirals. So Fujitora, who's only been around Fujitora got a lot of focus on in Dressrosa, so we got a good idea of who he is and the way he is. And then same with Green Bull, we got some good context for Green Bull fairly quickly. But Kizaru is the one that we really, really we never got any sort of deeper insight into who he is, what his motivations are, what his beliefs are. He's kind of just a chill, laid back dude who will follow orders as far as we've seen. But the fact that Oda keeps presenting him with this connection to Sentomaru and even seemingly, possibly even a friendship or bond with Vegapunk, it's too early to tell. But at the very least, some sort of connection with Sentomaru. Like they're even bantering back and forth a little bit, even during this whole confrontation. I don't know, maybe there's a possibility that there's more to Kizaru that we have yet to see. PV Trick, welcome to the Yonko. Thanks for joining. Look out for the Morjcast that will come out tomorrow. That is the weekly podcast where I share all of my extended thoughts and opinions that are not shared in, videos, streams, chapter reviews, etc. The real juicy, controversial stuff, I suppose. Mech Lore, thanks for the 2. Hi, Morjman. First comment, you see Oppenheimer yet? No, I'm going to see it on Saturday with my family while I'm here. I was probably not going to watch it on my own. I had friends and people I knew who wanted to go, etc., and who have gone and seen it, and who've gone and seen Barbie, etc. I wasn't really going to jump on it just because it's a biopic. I'm not as interested in something like that. But my dad and my sister want to go this Saturday while I'm in town, so I'm going to go with them. We'll see how it is. This chapter had Oppenheimer vibes, right? With the giant... basically the world government's running around with a nuke, The Lucia Kingdom basically got Oppenheimered. Muhammad D. Luffy, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 8 months. Thank you for re-upping. You too will be listening to the podcast tomorrow, I assume. The Outback Pandas, always good to see you, man. Thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 5 months. York's writing pisses me off. Really? In what manner? Like, you find her to be an annoying character, or you don't like the way that her whole plotline was constructed, or her motivations? I'm okay with York. I think York was a necessary piece to making this whole plotline work with the world government cracking down on Egghead, Vegapunk's, just for the actual dynamics of the intricacies of everything that's going on. I do think that York, there needed to be a way to get the Mother Flame over to the world government, etc., so a traitor, all that stuff. And I think at the end of the day, York was probably the most surprising of the 6 Vegapunks that we could have had. So, all in all, I'm okay with it. I think it took up a short amount of time in the entirety of Egghead Island. And I'm okay with where we're at right now. I don't know how important York is going to be from here on. Ali Clown says, sup, Morj, loving the upgrade. Vegapunk, I'm become death. Yeah. Yeah, Panda says her motivations are fine, not a fan of the structure or her personality. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I don't think she's going to be that serious of a villain going forward. I think York might have peaked with that one panel of her just standing or looming in front of the main Stella Vegapunk body. That was a cool panel, in my opinion. Pirate King season, thank you. Not sure not sure who gifted, but thanks. How's your day, Morj? Oh, dude, there was a whole train of people gifting. It might have been Hurrying Lyrics 44. It might have been Named. It might have been 02167. That was like 2 streams back that some crazy shit happened. Justin Holland, always good to see you, man. Thanks to 5. Your Tuesday video was spot on as this chapter is starting to show. Nice to see Makino's son liking Luffy. Yeah, a lot of people really enjoyed that Tuesday video, and I think it just goes to show how excited people are for the idea of Egghead Island just being a chance for the Straw Hats to flex how strong they are. And I feel like the vibe and tone of this chapter really, really lined up with that because again, a lot of the Tuesday video was talking about similarities to Sabaody, right? If we compare right now to Sabaody, at Sabaody, the Straw Hats have broken the rules, and then immediately they're fighting the Pacifista and stuff, and right after beating the Pacifista, they are tired, they are worried, they are stressed about Kizaru and all these Marines showing up, and they're right to be, tired, stressed, etc. They're right to be stressed and worried, etc., because right away, once Kizaru, Sentomaru, all of these other forces show up, the Straws just completely get crushed, right? So compare the tone of the Straw Hats after they defeated the Pacifista and how they felt right there, which was already in a state close to fear, close to despair, close to being at the end of their rope, to right now, where the Straw Hats casually took out the Seraphim, which are the equivalent of the Pacifista for the New World, right? Where we're at right now in the story, casually took out the Seraphim, almost no trouble. Well, a few cuts and bruises, cuts and scrapes here, but the tone is so vastly different. They're confident, they're in control, they know what's coming, they don't care. That is so sick. It is just the reverse of Sabaody. At least that's how I feel right now. So I think these guys are being shipped over to get fucked up. The Marines, Saturn, Kizaru, all of that. Kino the Far. Oh fuck, what is this? Kino the Far. Satellites share minds. Why did nobody stop York? I think that is something. I like to believe that is something that we will get clarification on very soon. The way that Oda wanted to introduce everything, like Oda chose to prioritize um, excitement and drama over answering questions with our return to Egghead, because we have several questions. How did the Straw Hats defeat the Seraphim? How did how did the whole York situation play out? How did they retrieve Vegapunk? Like, how was all this resolved internally, right? Oda could have cut back to Egghead and just picked up where we left off and checked off the boxes going through the plot beats one by one. This is way, way, way more exciting, right? Because this is, we don't know what's been going on in Egghead. We know that shit has been getting really bad in the outside world. We begin the chapter, the entire first half of the chapter is stressing how scary the world government is right now and how much is riding on this Egghead Island battle, because if York is able to win out, the world government is able to win out, then they get more Mother Flames to fuel the weapon, yada, yada, yada. Very, very ominous tone for the entire first half of the chapter. It's like, what is going to happen here? How are the Straw Hats doing? What happened? And then we conclude the chapter with like, oh shit, the Straw Hats are the Straw Hats, right? We're past the point where we should be underestimating them. This is not a problem for them. They took care of all of that shit a while back. I think that is just a much more exciting way to cut back into the swing of things, because we know that around the corner we're about to get this big battle, and there's a lot of sense of hype and excitement for what the Straw Hats are going to do and how much they're going to flex in this battle heading into it. Juxtaposed with Oda building up how dangerous the world government is, it's like, nah, but the Straw Hats got this shit. That's really, really a cool way to reintroduce us back to the story. Then Oda can take a chapter or something like that real quick to just fill in the gaps of what happened, but not linger on that too long, because he knows what we want to actually get to, right? Which is the big fight. Nurgangi says, Wano video will be out before Egghead arc ends in the manga. Reminds me of another bold claim you made 6 months ago. Just give me a date already. We'll know once we find out when Egghead Island is ending, but it's on its way, before Egghead Island ends. Goomba Boomba, thanks for the 5. Since they sunk the ship because they might know info, they might want to kill Sentomaru, which provides some character struggle / depth for Kizaru. I would love to see Sentomaru's bond with Kizaru, how serious that is. Because the fact that Oda is still playing up, again, as I said earlier in the stream, he's still playing up the banter and the bond between the two. It feels like there is still something there, like Sentomaru's still talking to him like he's practically family or an old friend. And Oda does treat those sort of relationships with respect throughout the story, Unless we get like a moment where Kizaru just completely breaks Sentamaru's trust and everything like that. I don't get the sense that this is like a moment of betrayal. I feel like there's still something potentially there between the Sentamaru Kizaru dynamic. I also think at the end of the day, Kizaru, he said that he's just, he's just a slave to the machine, right? That's what he is. I feel like with Kizaru, at the end of the day, it might not even be that much malintent or any. It's just following orders. So if he's just meant to play the role of a government weapon, but ultimately not be as cold blooded or heartless as Lucci. He could just be someone that they defeat right here, not necessarily someone that is a long term enemy, not necessarily someone that is um, a villain turned into an ally or anything like that. He could just be, take a swing at the Straw Hats. If I lose, cool, done with, done with that. Let's get the stream likes to 200 real quick. Ali Lubwama, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 10 months, man. Sup, Morj? Do you think the crater at the bottom of Pendy's lobby was also caused by the Mother Flame? Yeah, this is so... Okay, so I'll tell you... Give me a sec. If so, do you think that's where God Valley was? So, this is one of those disappointing things because... Not disappointing in terms of in the story. This is disappointing as a creator because it's one of those things where we got the reveal and everything like that of the big crater, right? And I'm just like, gears are turning. What could it be? And then I'm like, shit, this, like, you think back to Enies Lobby, so that everyone made that connection, right? But then I'm thinking, okay, so that means Enies Lobby is probably important. Wait, what else was erased? God Valley. So then in my mind, all the things are clicking together, and I'm like, holy shit, got a great theory video. And then I'm reading Twitter and, like, looking at everybody else's stuff and all of this stuff, and I'm like, oh, fuck, like, everybody's on the, like, so many people are talking about God Valley and how it might be God Valley. So, as a creator, I'm like, damn. I thought I made like a really cool connection there, but everyone's made that cool connection. So not everybody, but a lot of people are talking about it. So is it still worth taking time to really discuss? Because it's one of those things where I feel like there's a lot of extra details that I could add. So I'm in the middle of like, do I make a video on it or not make a video on it? Because there are several extra things that I could add that I don't see people talking about, but at the same time, it's a topic that people are already discussing. So I kind of got to think about that. There's a 2-week break, so maybe one of the videos I drop will be about Enies Lobby and God Valley. Sheriff Fluffy, thanks for the 10. The other option could be that it's the... I think there's literally... Let me say this. I think there's only 2 options for what Enies Lobby is, assuming that it is caused by the same thing. It's an identical situation to Lucia, which I think is a very fair bet. Assuming that is the case, I feel like... Assuming that is the case, I feel like it could be God Valley or it could be the Ancient Kingdom. And I think those are the only 2 real options that it could be. But the Ancient Kingdom, it doesn't even really make sense, right? Because you would assume that the Ancient Kingdom would be in the New World. I don't know. Sheriff Floppy, thanks for the 10. Could the rising sea levels create the all blue? That's an interesting idea. Maybe they rise high enough to reach Morjwa, flooding the rest of the world and leading to everyone settling on the Red Line via Noah and the Sea Kings. That is an insane theory. That is fucking crazy. I've never thought about something like that. Even then, it wouldn't create the all blue because it would have to reach high enough that it goes past the Red Line. The whole world would have to be flooded for something like that to happen, right? Because otherwise the oceans aren't exactly connecting. I do think, though, I still subscribe to the idea that all blue is created once the Red Line is destroyed and all of that stuff, so I'm not necessarily on board with that, but the second part of your idea of, like, the oceans flooding to the point that everyone has to live on the Red Line, I don't know if that's, like, a cool idea or not, because we lose so many islands, but it's a crazy thing to think about. The only issues with God Valley are the giants. What does that mean? Okay, Beat Gamer 99 is saying something interesting. The Mother Flame is an inferior version of the Eternal Flame, which was used to power ancient weapons in the Void Century. Yeah, makes sense. And Joy Boy is the source of the Eternal Flame. That's why the world government wanted the fruit. So you think the Sun God fruit can create an Eternal Flame? I don't know if I would like that. I don't know how I feel about that. Let's get the stream likes to 200 real quick. I like what the Nika fruit is right now. I like what it is right now. Weed and coconuts is why does Morj look different? Probably the camera angle being drastically different from what you normally see. Varptian says all of Nami's work is gone now. No, come on. I think the way you get up to the islands is still the same thing. All R.I.P. Nami's work. Malik, thanks for the 5. I think destroying the red line would flood the world. Maybe then we go to the moon. Do you think the answer to the closing of One Piece is everyone flying to the moon? I think that'd be kind of insane. I think that'd be kind of crazy. How do you guys feel about the fact that I like the fact that we skipped the Seraphim fight for the moment, but only if we get to go back to the Seraphim fight, like to find out at least in quick flashback format what happened, because I don't think you can leave us with a big question mark like what what leaving us with a big question mark like how are they going to damage these guys, right? Like they couldn't do it for multiple chapters and then not tell us how they did it. So I think that that's personally important. Personally, I think that's important. Kino the Far, thanks to the 5. The epicenter for the quake couldn't be found. I didn't really understand that. Does the Mother Flame slash Imu have the power to literally change all maps around the world in 6 days? No, come on, that can't be a thing. That can't be a thing. I don't understand why the epicenter couldn't be found, because, like, isn't it right fucking there? Isn't it just that giant hole in the ocean? Nando B, thanks to the 5. Hi, Senor Morj. Can't watch the rest of the stream. Having a movie night with a girlfriend. Are you watching? Oh, you say any movie suggestions. We both don't watch many movies. Why don't you just watch what everyone else is watching, which is Barbie or Oppenheimer? Eric says, "Who gives a fuck? Leave it alone." Eric, you don't want to. Don't we need to know how the Seraphim were defeated? Why make a huge deal of them being unable to damage them? If I'm just always confused by your opinions. You just come in with something like something usually very I don't even know what to say. Imagine the Seraphim fight is just an anime only. Well, then it wouldn't be canon. Mohammed Sadeghi, thanks for the 2. Dadan more epic than Super Saiyan slash Gear 5th 10 out of 10 chapter. I really liked being able to cut back to all of these you know, all of these characters throughout the world. Like, especially, like, it's cool when Oda jumps around to significant characters like a dragon, like a Shanks, etc. But I like the fact that, we got to see Whoop Slap, we got to see Makino, we got to see, the little people, Eric says, thank God Oda skipped all bullshit no one wanted. I mean, I agree. I like the fact that Oda came back the way he did. I think it's more exciting. But I still think you have to, at least very briefly, give us the answer to that question you know, because you set up that question. Are they going to damage the Seraphim? So a quick cut back to just them breaking out whatever move they use to defeat the Seraphim. I think that's important. Matt DeCaro, thanks for the 5. Which group shot of the crew do you prefer? This one or the one at the start of Onigashima? This one by a lot. This one by a lot. Largely because I have so many negative feelings towards like them arriving at Onigashima and such. The fact that like there's different ways to look at it, right? Like Onigashima is a huge battle that everything had been building up to for so long, but the Straw Hats had been in vacation mode practically the entire week leading up to the fight. Like literally, there's no panels of that. They don't give a fuck. Like they're literally party planning and shit on their way. Factually, they are party planning on their way to Onigashima. Never before seen in any major sort of One Piece storyline. Like imagine if the fucking walk to Arlong Park were replaced with them like laughing and joking about how fucking easy it is to take out like it's gonna be to take out Arlong and like save the village and stuff. Imagine if like the epic train ride to like them gathering to go fight the people at Enies Lobby, right? Instead of that whole crazy Aqua Laguna scene and like Nami screaming at Luffy in the buildings and all of that stuff. Imagine if it was just like, oh, we just got to go to Enies Lobby. Okay, let's get Robin and throw a heap. Okay, there's so many fucking complaints I have about Onigashima. Egghead Island is the reverse because whereas Onigashima was a battle that was built up for so long but had zero sense of drama or any level of, you know, serious weight attached to it by any of the main characters, aka the Straw Hats heading into it. Egghead is different in that Egghead was supposed to just be like a fun little vacation arc that suddenly turned into, holy shit, what's going to happen? A really big battle. And then we cut to the Straw Hats actually, like, we had the Straw Hats in a sticky situation right before this, but we're cutting back to them, like, basically being totally carefree and ready to go. Very, very different situations. Like, you know, one is leading up to a huge battle that we know is going on for a long time, but, like, the big pose spread for them means nothing to me because they didn't give a shit about any of it leading up to the big battle. This is like a battle that showed up at their doorstep out of the blue, And it's cool to see that despite all the heaviness that was, looming over the island before, they now feel like just ready to go and ready to take it on, right? One is a surprise and a pleasant surprise. The other feels like a very stupid, unearned action shot when they were literally party planning 5 chapters ago. Dilmadome, thanks for joining the Yonko. I was going to say joining the Yonko crew, but that's how I'm thinking about the strats right now. Thanks for joining the Yonko tier. Look out for a podcast that comes out tomorrow, the weekly Morjcast. I hope you enjoy it. Goomba Boomba. Fuck, scrolled right past it. Thanks for 5. Speaking of moons and today's cover page, what if Nami draws a map of the world at the end of the story by looking at the entire planet from the moon? That is fucking insane to think about. That would be so cool. Yeah, if you're a cartographer, you get to just get the cheat code, which is just the bird's eye view. That's what we have nowadays with satellites and everything like that, but poor Nami's got to do it all from scratch. She's like, she's yeah, she's having to manually travel around everywhere and figure this shit out, whereas we can just look at Google Maps. That is a really, really, really interesting idea. I had never thought about that before. I really like that. I hope that happens. I don't know if Oda would think to do that when they go up to the moon, but it would be really cool if he did. Cigar Verg, thanks for the 2. We got Kizaru and Saturn. No FS for Seraphims. What's FS? No. I'm just gonna assume we got no time for Seraphims. Yeah, I guess so. McLure, thanks for the 5. Hi, first comment. It seems obvious that Enies Lobby was a result of the Mother Flame. Yep. Yet Lucia seems to be the first time it was used. Thoughts? My understanding is that the Mother Flame is like a fuel source of sorts, right? And the weapon is something that the world government just has. At this point, I'm pretty sure the weapon is Uranus. It just seems like it fits, right? So, Enies Lobby, like, they may have had a very limited supply of fuel sources for this weapon, is the sense that I'm getting. So I feel like they had a limited supply. Enies Lobby may have been the last time they used what they had. Then Vegapunk is able to develop, for the first time ever for the world government, fresh supply of the flames that they need to fuel the weapon to do destructive things. That's my understanding of it, at least from reading this chapter. So they need Vegapunk for more supply, and they'd probably run out of supply for some period of time. They probably had some very limited level of supply, and maybe used very, very sparingly throughout history. ZZ says, Enies Lobby being God Valley got debunked. Oimo and Kashi were on Enies Lobby for 50 years, and God Valley was 40 years ago. Ah, okay, got debunked. Then you know what? That's a good thing that I didn't do any sort of video idea for that. Oimo and Kashi... Wait, were they on Enies Lobby? Hold on. Were they there for 50 years? Let's see. Oimo and Kashi. You know what? I'm going to look it up on my phone just because things tend to... For some reason, the One Piece wiki doesn't... I literally don't understand it. If anyone can explain it to me, but literally it's specifically the One Piece wiki that goes really, really slow on this laptop. And this is this is a powerful laptop too. I don't understand why going to a wiki site would slow it down, but it's just a very, very specific thing. Basamel Madawi, thanks for the 5. I like the idea of Imu going to the moon and Frankie making a ship to follow. Oh, that'd be crazy. So, like, in Enel's footsteps. Also, the Lunarians, that'd be so cool if Frankie had to make a ship to go to the moon. Like, kind of topping, the going to the sky. Also, the Lunarians made the Mother Flame equals why they live on the red line. Dude, that is brilliant. That is a really, really... Yeah, that makes so much sense. You think the world government killed a species to make the Mother Flames? And then they ran out and now Vegapunk has to do it? Okay, let me take a look at this Oimo Kashi thing. Let me just confirm. Okay, let's see. So, Kashi, together with Oimo, was one of the two... Okay, yeah, he guarded the front gate of Enies Lobby for over 50 years. You're right, so it can't happen. So in that case, what is Enies Lobby? Chris Acervelis, thanks. First contact between Straw Hats and Elders. That's cool. Is there any other giant, like, random hole in the ocean that we've ever come across? Chris Acervelis, okay, says first contact between yeah, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, no, that's exciting. Justin Holland, thanks for the 5. Part of me hopes the Straw Hat win gets Akainu off his ass by will or by official order by the elders, and Quake's got everything but Zoe. Interesting. I just don't think that Oda's going to show every single island, but we can assume that the Quakes were very widespread. Oh, let's get the stream lights up to 300 real quick. Yeah, I think the Straw Hats winning. Oh, dude, what would be crazy if. No, Akainu can't get over here in time. He couldn't get over here in time. There's no way. I'm like, what if. What if this is the Akainu. I don't know. It's too early. Oh, check. Thank you for the 20. And a weed powered prediction, he says. Toei will fully animate everything that happened with full Toei scene padding because this is a strategic move to keep One Piece going as long as possible to widen the gap between manga and anime. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Toei. This is one of those things though where it's not like even if Toei does it, I still think that they should do it after, like, chronologically. They should do it the way Oda did it first, and then if they want to include some flashback scenes of what happened, that would be great. But I think in terms of story structure, it is much more exciting to do it this way, where you cut away from the island for a while, then cut back with everything seeming like really, really like heavy. Who knows how they're gonna, the world's in a tough spot. Who knows how the Strats are gonna survive? How are they dealing with the York and Seraphim situation, etc. And then revealing the twist at the end that the Straw Hats are perfectly fine. I think that is important, like, story-wise. Just storytelling-wise, sorry, to do it in that order. And then if Toei wants to include their padding or whatever by giving us a flashback of what happened, then sure, do that. But I think it would throw off the entire idea of why Oda wrote it the way he wrote it if they, cut away from the Garp scene last chapter to then get into Seraphim battles and stuff like that. It ruins the entire flow of how this chapter's scene played out. Anuj Agrawal, thanks for the 5. How old is Enies Lobby? God Valley incident was 37 years ago, and Tom was sent there 32 years ago. Surely we'd know if Enies Lobby was only 5 years old at the time, right? Yeah, so people have already disproven it because of Oimo and Kashi. So because of Oimo and Kashi, who were around at Enies Lobby 50 years ago, Enies Lobby cannot be God Valley. I think it also, now the more I think about it, it makes sense it would be just too recent, right, for Enies Lobby to be God Valley because, God Valley mysteriously disappearing, right? But Enies Lobby is one of the most famous islands in the world, a government island, and if it's only been around for 40 years, it just wouldn't add up. Eric Trolato, thanks for the 2. I'll allow 2 flashback panels of Luffy using Haki. Yeah, I mean, that's all I'm asking for. I don't need the full fight scene against the Seraphim. Lynn, thanks for the 5. Maybe the epicenter can't be found because it hit the core of the planet, happening everything at once. Hits the core of the planet. That would be fucking insane. I don't even know what the effects of that would be. The core of the entire planet. Are they ready to just poke the entire Earth full of holes just to wipe out the Lucia Kingdom? There's got to be more efficient ways to do this. I don't even remember. Why did Imu get rid of Lulusia? Time out. Why did Im get rid of Lulusia Kingdom? Can anyone remind me? Because it wasn't for Sabo. Sabo just turned out to be there. Was it ever established why Im did that? Nimi Jutron, thanks for this. Thanks for the 2. Some of the Blackbeard parts are on Egghead and no one knows it. Yeah, that's something that isn't really being talked about as much, but it's very possible that somebody in that big double spread that we got is not, in fact, a Straw Hat pirate, or not one of the characters we know. Because the 2 Blackbeard pirates that are not accounted for, very interestingly, are Lafitte and Katarina Devon, right? Because if we go through the list, Blackbeard, Van Augur, Doc Q, and Burgess are all off fighting Law, or they took care of Law, right? So they're off doing their own thing. Then you got Pizarro, San Juan Wolf, Vasco Shot, Aokiji over on the other island fighting Garp, or having defeated Garp, right? But they're accounted for, right? The only 2 left are Lafitte and Katarina Devon, which are the 2 most lethal duo in this situation because Lafitte can sneak into pretty much anywhere, right? He snuck into a meeting room in Marijoa itself, pre-time skip, featuring Mihawk, Sengoku, Doflamingo, all of that, right? Which is just absurd. So Lafitte can sneak into pretty much anywhere, and Katarina Devon can transform into pretty much anyone. So that is a very, very dangerous duo to have running around Egghead Island right now. It is the perfect duo for infiltration and, sabotage, subterfuge. Subterfuge? Subterfuge. I don't think I've ever said that word out loud. Let's get the stream likes up to 300 real quick. Red and Silver 741, thanks for the 10. Back on the flooding subject. Do you think the One Piece world was once a planet with continents instead of islands? Oh, and you think that the world just got flooded more and more until it just turned into a bunch of islands? That'd be fucking insane. When the world government came into power, they flooded the world and cut off mass communication. Holy shit. So what if the end of the story is just like a big draining of the ocean and then they just have a gigantic new land? You know what's fucking crazy about that? Is that that's the fucking story of Wano itself, right? Like Wano, right? Wano country, land structure. I'm not going to do a screen share thing just because I don't want to fuck with the current settings or whatever, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? We all read the end of Wano. Wano is actually a huge land, right? It's like a land, it looks like a bunch of islands, right? But in fact, it's a gigantic landmass that's just hidden underwater. That would be crazy. Red and Silver 741, that is an interesting idea. I wonder if we got some foreshadowing right there. That'd be fucking insane. Maybe that's what the One Piece is. Is that a good thing? Right? Is that exciting? We lose the ocean, which is the sense of open adventure, but we get a new world, which is more adventure, right? Random thought, by the way, this is totally different. I've not played the new Zelda games, Tears of the Kingdom, or Breath of the Wild, really, and like I would ever like played those full games. But people are like, how are they going to do a sequel to one of these? Couldn't they just go to the ocean? Couldn't they go sailing and stuff? I feel like the next Zelda game should be like Wind Waker-esque, but just with the new polished, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom stuff, where it's just like way, way, way more vast and developed and everything like that. I feel like that would be dope. I want to play a sailing game. You have no idea how badly One Piece, like just my love for One Piece, makes me want to play like a really, really cool, just open world ocean adventure game. But the One Piece games themselves, from what I've heard, are not that good for it. So nothing exists. I suppose the Wind Waker's the closest you get, but I don't think like Wind Waker's a great game, but um, I don't think like there is a lot of tedious sailing involved in it. I feel like sailing should be more fun. I know this is all random shit, but um, just so you guys know, the One Piece open world sea adventure stuff has heavily influenced my mind in terms of like I really really want to one day be able to like go on like ocean adventures and shit like that. And if I can't do that, I would love to have a video game where I could at least pretend to, and that would be fun. So I think the next Zelda game should be that. Random thought. John Ross, thanks for the 5. Theory on Reddit the other day. Laughtale or Ancient Kingdom is hidden by a very specific moon orbit, causing tides to change. Why Roger was too early. So you think they can't get to it because the tides are too difficult? Like the tides fuck with it too much? I feel like they'd still be able to get around that. You know? I feel like they'd still be able to get around that, but maybe not. I also think that I'm still of the opinion that like a moon trip in general is going to be involved. So I feel like it's very possible that Laughtale is just off-world. And Ryu, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 3 months. Do you think Luffy dies in the end? Yes. I think it is needed to solidify his legacy, not to mention all the burden on his lifespan makes sense. So I'm going to answer that whole question in a very succinct way, which is go check out my video, which is Luffy dies in the end. I really think he does. I think it fits the story and a lot of things that Oda has set up perfectly. I think it completes his character in many ways. Why Luffy dies in the end is the name of the video. Cigar Verk, thanks for the 5. It was nice to see all these islands. Yeah, I like cutting through all of them, and it wasn't in the usual. What was distinct about this is that usually when we cut through all the islands, it's when, some Luffy's done some cool stuff, right? So we're checking out the bounties. This was just cutting through all the islands to feel the effects of the damage that the world government is doing, which is a very new thing. I like the way that Oda's doing that. It builds up the sense of threat that the world is up against heading into this final saga. I guess Oda remembered he didn't show them at bounty reveals. That's true. I do miss the fact that we didn't. Yeah, I don't know why Oda didn't show them at bounty reveals, and why he chose to save them for here. I guess he wanted to do it 2-in-1, but I think that it would be. I still like the feeling of just getting the cutaways during the bounty reveal moments because that's just when it's most satisfying, in my opinion. Like right now, we've got other shit to think about, and then characters reacting to the bounty reveals is like an afterthought. And no, Robin at the end did she eloped with Pinzoro. um, I have no idea why there's no Robin at the end. Maybe she's maybe there's some like I feel like there's some holes that have to be filled in. So maybe there's some important tasks that Robin's doing. Dom, thanks for the 1 message retracted though. Tin Rizuka, thanks for the 5. Considering Vegapunk has been remaking Ancient Kingdom tech, the Enies Lobby hole has probably been there since the Void Century. I would believe that because it feels like Marineford, Impel Down, Enies Lobby. Those are just so important as world government structures. I feel like them having been around for a long time just feels more symbolically correct. I'm just trying to think, is there anything else we could have seen in the New World that could have fit the idea of where God Valley could have been? I feel like the answer is no. Tomahawk PWPT, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 2 months. Emu, deploy the Mother Flame. Gorosei, why? Emu, dude, just do it, it's nearby. Oh yeah, that was what happened. But I'm just like, isn't that the most callous thing ever? Considering that they only have like one mother. they've only got they've only got one Mother Flame. They literally need to strike a deal with York to get more Mother Flames, and they were already about to break that deal. So he was just like, yeah, let's just blow our load on destroying the Lucia Kingdom for what is essentially no reason at all. They don't have the minister, like the war god of science, maybe giving some input there. That might not be the smartest thing, or the war god of the war god of the military or whatever, like, or the defense department. Like, none of them want to chime in and be like, "Hey, we don't have infinite nukes. In fact, we only have one. Maybe you want to save that shit for when it actually matters." Dom, thanks for the 2. Kaido and Big Mom come crawling out of a hole. Lol, that is fucking hilarious. why did he do that? It makes no sense. Evil is just him? No, that's the opposite. That's that's just stupid. Redstone Day says it was part of the Great Cleansing. I get that it was part of the Great Cleansing, but if it was the Great Cleansing, like, let's just randomly take care of one island, and then we've kind of got no more resources to work with after that, but we got the ball rolling, and we'll kind of just see where it goes from there. Whoopses, that sounds like exactly the type of dumb crap the world government would do. Yeah, I mean, like, Charlos would do that shit. This is Emu we're talking about, who's like managed to rule the world from the shadows effectively for 1,000 years. No one wanted to tell him that maybe this wasn't the best use of it. Like, hey, let's wait till we find out where the Revolutionary Army actually. Dude, from Im's. Dude, from Im's perspective, it's like, alright, we need to start this Great Cleansing. Let me randomly pick. We've got one use of our super secret weapon, right? We've got one use of our super secret weapon. We have literally no more supply of it left, right? There's a guy who could potentially get us more supply, but we're basically also simultaneously breaking all bonds with him, and we're going to break the deal and negotiations that we have with them, and we're probably, it's very unlikely we get any more. So we've only got one of these, right? We've only got one of these secret weapons, right? And we really want to do an effective Great Cleansing of the world, just restore order and everything like that. So the first thing I'm going to do... Oh, and this random dude just broke into my throne room and found out my real identity, right? And he got away, and his goal is to, like, raise the dawn of the flag of the world or some shit, right? And he's the chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army, which is basically our biggest enemy group ever, right? So, that just happened. What I'm going to do next is basically just say, fuck it, cross off a random island on the map, and then just drop the single nuke that we have, our trump card. I'm just going to throw it at a completely random fucking island. That is the strategy I will follow in the wake of these current events, right? And how I will do the Great Cleansing after this, I don't fucking know. And how I deal with the Revolutionary Army after this, I don't fucking know. Whatever happened to that dude that, got away after seeing my identity, who knows? Let's just throw this shit, throw our bomb at this island, and we see what happens. And then the fucking funniest shit in the world is that Imu is being told, like, they're intercepting a phone call, and it's like, hey, Im, guess what? That dude that broke into the throne room and found out your identity, what are the fucking chances? Luckily, he is also at that random island that you fucking threw a dart at and managed to hit. So, coincidence, your completely random guess to destroy the Lucia Kingdom and blow our only weapon is for no for no real logical reason on your end at all, also conveniently going to probably take out, the biggest person we actually need to eliminate right now, which is Sabo. So, from the Gorosei's perspective, they must be fucking confused as shit why their boss chose to do this, why it turned out to accidentally be a somewhat good choice, and probably a little bit frustrated, which is because this seems to be enabling Im's, I guess, generally erratic stupidity. It's like, fuck, the boss did something totally random, but it seems like it was a fucking good guess because that dude that we need to catch actually happened to be on that island that Im chose for no reason. Alright, you're the boss. I guess we just can't really say shit about this. Obviously, Sabo survived, but I'm saying in the moment, that's just some crazy funny coincidence from, like, their end. Like, if you're the Gorosei, you're probably just, like, in the morning, just drinking coffee, all jittery and, like, frustrated, like, what the fuck is that fucking crazy bastard gonna do next? Like, is he gonna, like, what is he gonna get away with this time? Oh, let me catch up on these supers. Okay, we got several. First of all, Spoon, welcome to the Pirate King group. I suggest you go. Okay, let me shout this out real quick. I just dropped exclusively for Pirate King tier members, either on YouTube or on Patreon, Pirate King members, an hour-long podcast talking about a bunch of topics that you guys specifically asked me to talk about, such as what I think would have happened if the raid didn't fail, so it goes in-depth into that. How One Piece compares to the other big three, a lot of different topics like that, basically. So if you're interested, if you want an exclusive podcast talking about certain things that you guys specifically requested from me, definitely check out maybe joining Pirate King tier for a month or so. If you enjoy it, you can stick around, but it's not much. It's there if you want to test it out. But Spoon, welcome to Pirate King tier. Let me take a look at the other supers I missed real quick. Let me catch up. Hold on. Shattered Glass says, could old Wano drown because of Rising Sea as well? So then that would have meant that Wano would have been... No, because Wano, like, it's a huge waterfall that's traveling up, right? So it's more so because of the waterfall, which seems to be an unnatural thing, but maybe was caused by some level of destruction or something like that. Mechlora, thanks for the 2. Oars pulled the continents to form the Red Line. I think it's too big for Oars to have pulled. I feel like the Red Line's just too huge. Like, Oars couldn't have pulled that shit together. Lucky Man, thanks for the 5. If we're gonna drain all the water of the world to somewhere, it's gonna be the All Blue. And how would they drain all the water of the world? How much re-shifting of the geography would have to go into all of these theories? I really like the idea that there's a whole new world of adventure just waiting there if they drained off the water of the world. But I'm like, yeah, where would it go to? Just drain into some giant magic hole? Bassem El Madawi, thanks for the 5. I like the idea that the world government had a valid reason to take over. That's why Zunisha and Lily were tricked. The ancient kingdom were dangerous. So it depends, because in past scenarios like this, right, usually what happens is that the prior established rule, right, so like in Alabasta or what we see in Dressrosa, the people that rebel are usually given a valid reason to rebel, but at the heart of it is a lie or a trick. Like Doflamingo manipulated the people of Dressrosa into thinking that the Riku family was bad. Crocodile manipulated the people of Alabasta into thinking that the Nefertari family was bad, right? So usually the pre-existing regime is actually a good regime, but the people that rebel, like Koza's not ultimately a bad guy. He just was fooled by, for valid reasons, by Crocodile into thinking that there was no other choice but rebellion. So I wouldn't be surprised if Lily or whoever were effectively tricked by the nations of the world government into rebelling against the ancient kingdom. But I don't know if that necessarily means that the ancient kingdom was actually bad. They could have just been very believably framed as evil. Who knows? Anuj Agrawal, thanks for the two. Stream your first Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom playthrough. No, I've explained this before. Like, I don't like streaming any games because, I don't want to stream any single player games because for me, it's like, um, that ruins the fun of it for me. The only time I want to stream a game is if like the only game I've streamed single player was Sekiro because that's a game I've already beaten before. So it's fun to, like then it's fun to just play for stream or play for chat or whatever. But I don't stream games for the same reason I don't like stream my chapter reactions because for me that sort of thing is like I would just want to be able to enjoy shows, manga, games, etc. That's for me. You know what I mean? Like I just want to be able to relax, enjoy it, not be thinking of like how I'm entertaining other people or the fact that, you know, like other people aren't invested in terms of how much I'm enjoying it or not enjoying it, etc. That just kills the fun for me. I just want to be max relaxation mode, just purely that. So for me, stuff like reactions and things like that, it's just not fun at all. Um, the things that I'm okay with doing reactions to that I've occasionally done. I reacted to some clips of the One Piece anime from the chapter or from the episode where the Straw Hats got to the rooftop, and I thought that was a really cool scene. But I'm okay with doing stuff like that because I generally purely don't care, like genuinely don't care about the anime pretty much at all. So it's like, okay, I'm okay with not really enjoying this, and like doing it just for chat or whatever, doing it just for viewers. But things that I actually intend to enjoy, like reading the manga, watching a show, playing a game, I don't want to have that experience be mixed with like feeling like it's you know, for other people's entertainment, if that makes sense. So that's just a personal thing. Kino the Farah, thanks for the 5. When Roger said, "Damn, I wish I was in Joy Boy time," did he mean the original Joy Boy, the Void Century, or Luffy Joy Boy in the present day? I don't think he said that quote exactly. He just said like, "Joy Boy, what a funny story, etc." And then later on he said we were too early. So I think he's talking about two different things. In terms of like saving the world and carrying out the will of D, he meant that we were too early. So not in the present day. The final storm, thanks for the 5. Even though it doesn't seem likely based on the way the story is going, what if Enies Lobby was the Emerald City that Bellamy mentioned? Dude, I forget about the Emerald City. Then it comes up once every blue moon. I wonder if the Emerald City is ever going to come up again. Hmm. Josh Partridge, people are saying to test the weapon. That's why he did it. So if you've got a gun and you've only got literally one bullet, right? You don't get to test it. If you have got one bullet and no access to other bullets, testing it is off the. Testing something is what you do when you have the option of being able to use it again, right? If you've only got one bullet, testing it is off the table, right? Like that's it. You don't get to test it. It's done. You've only got one. You better hope it works, and you use it on something like when it actually fucking counts. You know what I mean? Like, like, what does that even mean? Like, let me test this gun. Like, let me test this gun and use my only bullet so that I know whether it works or not. And if it works, well, now we know it works, and that's pretty much it. And now we can never use it again. So in any situation that I actually need it, I'm fucked. You know what I'm saying? Testing is something that is only done when you have the option to do it again. Abyssal Leviathan, thanks for the 5. Who's your favorite Egghead Vice Admiral? Oh, that's an interesting question. I mean, for me, it's just like Doberman's the one we know. So the others are new guys. I'm investing my entire life savings in Vice Admiral stocks. Zoro and Sanji are not ready. Come on, Zoro and Sanji are not losing to Vice Admirals. If we've come this far for Zoro and Sanji to be fighting Vice Admirals, I'm gonna be. It is gonna be so ridiculously disappointing because they like Zoro and Sanji at this point can basically like mid diff first mate, second like king and queen and stuff. There should be well beyond vice admirals. Obviously, there's exceptions like Garp, but like that's those are exceptions. Most vice admirals aren't shit, you know. Most every vice admiral, pretty much. Spoon, thanks for the 5. How are you doing, Morj? I always listen to your stuff when driving, and I love the stream when you were power scaling Khan and Stalin. That was a funny stream. That was like I don't even remember. Oh yeah, it was like One Piece characters, like other characters from other anime if they're in One Piece, but then that switched to like real life characters in One Piece, and then it switched to which real world figures would have the most like would have Conqueror's Haki or the best Conqueror's Haki. And I think what we landed on was like I think Genghis Khan would have the best Conqueror's Haki, followed by like Alexander the Great, and then like Hitler's in there somewhere and stuff. It was a funny stream. Ace but comeback, thanks for the 5. Fuchsia Town Mayor and Sengoku are good slash bad versions of Kobe at 60. That's hilarious. Also, the Gorosei are so serious in the wrong. I feel like Kobe could be, Kobe is morally even better than Sengoku. Like, Sengoku is the dude who will do the wrong thing, and he'll know it's the wrong thing. He just won't like it, but he'll do it. His orders, because people tell him to. The great thing about Kobe is that if someone tells him to do the wrong thing, no matter who it is, right? It could be a Kainu, it could be his life on the line, but he will stand up for the right thing at the end of the day. Also, the Gorosei are so serious in the wrong manga. They're getting fodderized so hard. Yeah, I don't know how, like, Gorosei Saturn stocks, they might be in trouble once he runs into Luffy. What is wrong with question mark says, funny Kizaru not asking questions about Void Sentry. No, I mean, it makes sense. That's just Kizaru's character. That's who he's always been, and I like that this was the first time that Kizaru was actually a little bit, like, acknowledged a little bit about himself, like his character traits. Like, yeah, that's just who I am. I'll do what they tell me, man. Flame, thanks for the 5. I'm really starting to believe that Emu is a child theory. The guy's basically Xeno from Dragon Ball Super. No, I mean, I'm making jokes and stuff, but I feel like we're not supposed to take this as an irrational decision by him. I think Oda's still trying to build up the idea that Emu is a very dangerous character. I don't know if Emu's like an irrational child, but maybe. Omarua, you know what's interesting is that this also means that we have no insight really into Emu's true abilities because um, it's been established that whatever destroyed the Lucia Kingdom is a weapon and not Emu's power, right? Like, we already knew that pretty much, but no, we already 100% knew that pretty much, but like, I think now it's like basically 0% chance that it's any of Emu's natural abilities. So his fighting abilities got to be totally different. Omarwa, thanks for the 5. What do you think is up with Lucci hanging out in the background behind the crew in the end? He betrayed the world government? I don't know, man. I think that it's one of those things where, like, once you fight on the same side, which they did, I feel like it's a little awkward just, like, separating ways and going back to killing each other right away. Um, and I feel like with Lucci, he's kind of just going to chill and wait and see. And I think the Straw Hats just feel so little threat from them because Luffy's so confident he can beat Lucci again. I feel like Zoro, maybe even Sanji could beat Lucci. I think they just view them as such low level threats that they don't even mind just having them around. Reflexy coming in with the Anislabi got Lucius treatment 800 years ago. Um, I think that is possible. I definitely think that is very possible. And I think that I was saying that I think that might open up the possibility that Enislabi was the ancient kingdom, but I don't know if that holds up or anything like that. Just because I kind of got to look back through the manga what information we actually have about the ancient kingdom and whether or not um, it makes sense that it would be in the New World or in Paradise. It's the fact that Enislabi is in the first half of the Grand Line that really hurts it because it's like, would the ancient kingdom have been in Paradise, or would it have been in the New World? Was the Red Line even a thing back then? Was there Paradise or the New World? Angel Reese, thanks for the 5. A member of the Roxy clan of the time tricked Lily into rebelling. Maybe that. Maybe Marshall D. Teach's line. Yeah, I wonder if there was a betrayal on the side of the D tribe. Insatiable Hunger, thanks for the 5. It's crazy, but Roblox is the, like, betrayal, like, intentional betrayal. Like, Lily's, like, Nefertari DVV, like, that was a mistake on her part, obviously, but I'm saying an intentional betrayal. Insatiable Hunger, thanks for the 5. It's crazy, but Roblox is the closest MMO One Piece game. Blocks, peace, choose between Marines and Pirates is all Devil Fruit / hockey. You have all the seasons, seas, even Skypea. I've never heard of this. Never tried it. I might have heard of it, but I don't think I've ever, like, looked into it or anything. Kino the Far, thanks for the 2. I wish I'd been born in the same era. Oh, yeah, then he must have... Let's see, chapter 967. Let me check real quick. 967. He's talking about, for those of you just tuning in, he's talking about Roger's words about Joy Boy. Let's see. So Roger says, when he sees it, he says, "Oh, Joy Boy, I wish I'd been born in your time." Yeah, he wishes he'd been born in Joy Boy's time. Interesting. I wonder why. I wonder why. Sean Easton, thanks for the 5. Gear 5th animation for reaction. Thank you for linking it to me, but I'm just going to watch the actual episode. Will I do a reaction to it? Maybe. When does the episode come out again? When does Gear 5th come out? What's the episode? 1071, right? When does it come out? August 6th, Sunday. So, I mean, I'm not going to watch it Sunday. Maybe it could be... Maybe I could react to that. Maybe I could react to that. Because it's like, if I'm going to react to anything, I'll react to that. It'll be one of the... Like... Because, again, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with reacting to things that I don't care about that much. Reacting in general, I don't care. Like, I just don't want to do because it's not fun for me as much, you know. But if I really don't care about something, but I think I could find it interesting, then I'm fine to react to it. So Gear 5th falls into that category in the anime because just don't care about the anime too much. If it surprises me and wows me, like that one episode did, the one where Luffy first comes up to the rooftop and is facing off against Kaido, phenomenal episode, etc. Like I can appreciate it and be wowed by it and everything like that, but I'm not gonna have that much investment in whether or not I enjoy it. So I'm okay with reacting to stuff like that. So maybe Gear 5th I will. I'm not gonna watch it on Sunday. I'm just not. Um, I will like there are probably gonna be so many clips of it going around on Twitter that I'll see bits of it. So I think if I do a reaction Monday, I'll just be very, very clear and honest with like how much of it I've seen. But there's no way I'm going to take time on Sunday to watch a full episode. Sunday is one of my last days here uh, in Maryland. So Sunday I'm going to be spending with a couple of my friends and stuff that I haven't seen in a long time. So even if I had free time on Sunday, I probably wouldn't spend it watching the Gear 5th episode. But I'm also just busy Sunday. So it comes out Saturday. Saturday. No, it comes out Sunday. I'm reading August 6th, which is a Sunday for me. Either way, I'm not going to watch the full episode. I will probably come across clips of it because that's probably going to be impossible to not see. But the full episode I'm not going to watch. So Monday I can give you guys a heads up, like, yeah, I've seen this bit or whatever, but I could probably do a reaction to the full episode. I'll see what I'm feeling on Monday. I also don't want the stream to get, like, copyright struck or anything, so I forget how people do reactions. I'll have to take a look at some other people. The video coming out on Tuesday, by the way, is a Gear 5th video. Abyssal Leviathan, thanks for the 5. In the Marine Bounty chapter, we saw Vice Admiral with a 1 billion bounty. Really? Also, Oniguma blitzed Marco. Zoro and Sanji are screwed. Are you kidding? Oniguma blitzed Marco while Marco was fighting Kizaru? Like, no, Oniguma is not as strong as Marco, dude. It's not even close. If they were, then Vice Admirals would have just been the ones fighting Marco, Jozu, and Vista. Instead, they were matched up against Mihawk and Admirals, right? Like, Oniguma is nowhere near as strong as Zoro and Sanji. There's just no way. If Vice Admirals were that strong, then the Yonko just wouldn't fucking exist. They would be done for. They just wouldn't exist. They would just take him out effortlessly. Anuj Agarwal, thanks for the two. Odds Rocks was the buggy of Roger's generation. Rocks was the buggy of Roger's generation. I think this is a. I've heard Parvision say that. I personally don't believe it. I think that the story is much more interesting if Rocks actually was very strong, and Roger defeating him was a big deal, and Rocks was a legitimate threat to the world government. I think the narrative just comes together in a much more interesting way if all of that is true. Sean Easton, thanks for the five. It's not from the episode Independent Animator on YouTube. You probably can't share on stream because of Wi-Fi, but the music is good. Oh, okay. I'll check it out separately then. That's interesting. I will say that the little bit of Gear Fifth that I saw in the preview, it's not the stuff. I didn't think that that's how they would do it. It seems different. I thought it would be more like you know uh, Tom and Jerry style because that's like explicitly what Oda said it was supposed to be like. You know, this seems more like kids drawings, which is a little bit different. But I think we got to see it in the context of the full episode to see what they felt was the best way to adapt it. I'm sure that it's going to be a phenomenally directed episode. It's just the style that they chose to go with is different than what I thought that they would go with. Knut Worgen says, "What are the chances of Straw Hat fake out deaths?" I really hope that Oda never does something like that because I think it would just be incredibly cheap. Like I've talked about this before. There's different types of fake out deaths that you can do. There's the type that's like a momentary scene where it's like, oh my god, oh, character fell off a cliff or something like that. Did they survive? Like, or a character was stabbed through the heart or something like, did they survive? Like, there's momentary things you can do like that, which I don't think are that big of a deal. The things that I think are really really bad is when an author writes a dramatic like payoff scene, a dramatic payoff of killing off a character type scene where it's like pretending the character died and then writing a whole tragic scene of like the characters mourning it and like having flashbacks and just emotional moments and like lots of character writing and stuff like that and then bringing the character back because then that's essentially cheating. That's basically like no author, no movie writer, no screenwriter, etc., does that sort of thing, right? It's something that you only really see in like if I'm being honest, I pretty much only see it in One Piece and Fairy Tale, which is fucked up because like Oda is too good of a writer to do that. I literally only see that sort of shit in One Piece and Fairy Tale, like writing full on death scenes. Like there's a difference between a death fake out and a dramatic death scene. Dramatic death scene is when you're doing you throw the whole you do all of the you squeeze all the dramatic juice out of it, right? Like you really pretend Pell just died. How's that affecting Vivi? Here's the flashbacks. Here's all the emotion. Here's the tragedy. Blah 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 blah. And then it's just cheating to say like 50 chapters later they're fine. They're fine. It's just not right. See, Kinemon I don't even think was that bad as other people. Kinemon I view as just a death fake out because I don't think Oda went that hard on squeezing dramatic. Like yeah, it was a dramatic moment when it seemed like Kinemon died, but Oda didn't go that hard in terms of like, writing a whole emotional sequence for Momonosuke, or like, it's not like he devoted a whole chapter to Kinemon's death or anything like that, or like a bunch of tragic flashbacks, or like a tremendous amount of character emotion and reactions, or like totally changing the tone of Wano. Kinemon's death, it went by like that in the grand scheme of things. It was just a death fake out to me. So I understand why people were upset, but I don't care that much. I care way more about things like Pell, um, like I view Kinemon's death as closer to Pagaya than something like Pell, if that makes sense, right? So Pell, Pound, Saul, those are all those are all just big no nos. You just can't do that. Axel V says, "What about Gandalf?" Gandalf, I agree, but Gandalf was like from the fucking Lord of the Rings, which was written like 100 years ago. So the movies kind of had to roll with that. In the actual books, the books aren't like as melodramatic, so the movies played it up, but they kind of had to, unfortunately. Oda didn't play it up, but Toei did. Yeah, because the anime is just ass. I think I tapped into a touchy subject here. I'm not gonna get into Saul. I think we can talk about Saul again once Saul shows up again, because I already did a full video talking about Saul, and then I saw the responses to it, and I think a lot of responses missed the point. So for me, it's basically like because a lot of the responses are missing the point of why death scenes matter in the first place, and why you don't do that in fiction in general, because of what the consequence of death is supposed to mean. So that's a video that's best saved for when Saul comes back to readdress those previous points. It's not worth going into at a surface level here. Abyssal Leviathan, thanks for the 9 straw commanders, nice vice admirals, it's over. Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, you could say, like, there were 9, like, Kaido had 9 officers, and there were 9 straw hats, 9 straw hat commanders, but it's not like every straw hat, fought one of Kaido's officers. So I don't know if those things necessarily play out like that. I mean, like, if Zoro and Sanji are fighting vice admirals at this point, it's just a total joke. Because it's like, so Zoro's gonna fight a vice admiral, and then, what, in the span of, like, how, we're in the final saga, he's gonna be fighting Mihawk around the corner, you know? Humility above pride, thanks for the 5. Thoughts on Blackbeard Pirates, stealing Vegapunk and stealing his memories with Pudding and Robin missing. Thoughts on Blackbeard Pirates, stealing Vegapunk and stealing his memories with Pudding and also Robin missing. Katarina could be anywhere and anyone right now. Thoughts on Blackbeard Pirates, stealing Vegapunk and stealing his memories with... Oh, that's a really interesting idea. Also Robin missing, Robin being captured by the Blackbeard Pirates. That'd be nuts. Katarina, but the thing is that the Blackbeard Pirates have Pudding, so I feel like stealing Robin, it would just be a redundant plot point to include at this point. Stealing Vegapunk is a whole new ballgame. Katarina could be anywhere and anyone right now. Yeah, that's the interesting thing. I was talking about this earlier in the stream, but Lafitte and Katarina are the 2 Blackbeard Pirates that are left. They're the 2 that are being sent over to Egghead Island. Lafitte can infiltrate, because we saw he could do that in Marijua, and Katarina can transform into anyone, which basically is a very dangerous dynamic duo right here. Reflexy, thank you very much. How significant will the water level thing be? How significant will the water level thing be? I don't know if it's just something cool for dramatic effect. Because it's kind of like, you know, when Whitebeard was doing his earthquakes, at the end of the day, it didn't really change that much of the story. But Oda liked cutting around to the rest of the world and being like, look, it's earthquakes are being caused here and here and here, just for dramatic effect. Dig so small I piss on my balls, thanks for the 2. Lol, Oda can just make the Vice Admirals commander level. But it would make no fucking sense. Because, like, commander level is such like, when we say commander level, by the way, we're not talking about, like, oh, Whitebeard has 16 commanders, right? We're saying, like, we're talking about the top few, right? So, like, Katakuri, Marco, Cracker, Queen, King, those guys, right? Lucky Root. If Vice Admirals, like, just throughout the entire story, Vice Admirals haven't been that level. We already saw when the Whitebeard Pirates were being matched up against the Marines, was like good being matched against the Admirals, and the core commanders had, they were being matched up against the Vice Admirals. So we get the sense that that's the one-to-one comparison, right? Vice Admirals would fight lower level pirates, etc. Then over the course of the rest of the story, it's like every Vice Admiral we see, like Sabo can low diff them, Bartolomeo can low diff them. Like, it doesn't matter who. Like, when has a Vice Admiral ever done anything impressive in the story? Like, Smoker gets low diffed by Doflamingo. Law low diffs Virgo. It would just make no sense if suddenly Vice Admirals that we've seen before and have been active in the story, like Doberman, are suddenly being written to be like commander level. It would also just be like, if that's the case, then the world government could have just wiped out every Yonko crew pretty much effortlessly a long time back, because they got so many fucking Vice Admirals. You know what I mean? 02657, thank you for the huge donation out of the blue yet again. Let's see if you got anything to say about Crocomom. What do you think about the drawing Enel saw on the moon? There is something in the sky people thought was Uranus that has a flame inside of it. Is this what the mother flame was based off of? Thank you for bringing this up, actually, because this is like now I'm remembering there was a huge sun image, right? So let's take a look. Um, I'm not going to screen share again, just because the current setup is weird and I don't want to fuck with things. Um, Enel, what is it? Hieroglyphics? Let's see. Yeah, so what Enel's looking at, yeah, it does have essentially an image of the sun, basically. Because we can see, I'm just going to narrate to you guys what I'm seeing. We're seeing the Sea Kings, right? So the fish. We're seeing a giant ship, which is Uranus. And then, oh, sorry, not Uranus, which is Pluton. And then we're seeing a sun thing in the sky, which very well could be Uranus, right? And if it's a sun, maybe being powered by flame, that would be so. It's so interesting because it's like the bad guys have the power of the sky, Uranus, when like the sun also tends to represent Luffy and freedom. This is. I really hope that Oda delves into all of this moon shit. Like, I really, really hope that like these reveals aren't just like some secret like Easter eggs or like some secret stuff that he's like, you know, maybe gonna delve into, or like he's got some headcanon for it, but it's not gonna make it to the story, or it's just a Vivre card or something like that, or just some extra tidbit. But oh shit, is my Wi-Fi bad? Did you guys hear what I said? If you guys didn't catch what I just said, all I was talking about in response to 02657 was that looking at the hieroglyphics, it definitely does seem like, because we can see the Sea King, so that represents Poseidon, we can see the ship, so that represents Pluton, and we can see the giant sun in the sky, which seems like it represents Uranus. Mother Flame would fittingly be an ability that fits with that. And like, even just like the attack, it seems like rays of light coming down. I think it all does basically come together with that. There's something that the sky people thought was Uranus that has a flame inside of it. Yeah, I mean, it just seems like it makes sense. It seems like it makes sense, and I wonder if like, you know, what's interesting is that the Lunarians are not in the the hieroglyphics. So whatever the Lunarians are, like they lived on the red. Were they ever on the moon? They lived on the red line. Were they on the moon and then on the red line? Like what? Like how does it all fit together? Abyssal Leviathan, thanks for the 5. Also, one Vice Admiral is Kadar, who had a past with Fisher Tiger, and Arlong is a Rear Admiral. He's definitely going to at least clash with Jinbei. Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, Jinbei makes sense for fighting someone. Dick so small I piss on my balls, thanks for the 5. There's about 15 Vice Admirals we haven't seen in action. Oda can make like 3 of them on the same level as someone like King or Queen. No, because that still doesn't make any sense, because in that case, they would just, in the Marine Ford War, you would never have, like, you would just have the admirals, like you would just have them fighting Marco, Jozu, and Vista, and the admirals could all just kill Whitebeard, right? Certain things made sense, right? The Shichibukai, they didn't try, right? They're sitting back, they didn't try, right? Okay? Then you've got Garp and Sengoku, who are the guys in charge, so they're last line of defense, right? Garp is like Sengoku sitting at the execution stand, last line of defense, and Garp is right in front of him. Basically, they're the two last lines of defense. Like Marco tries to fly up, Garp knocks him down. Luffy tries to get up there, Sengoku stops him. That makes sense, right? The admirals are the ones that are going after Whitebeard. That's what they're doing from the start. Like Aokiji's taking a swing at him, Kizaru's taking a swing at him, Akainu's taking a swing at him. They're all trying to go after Whitebeard, right? The problem that they keep running into throughout it is like Aokiji's trying to go after Whitebeard. Okay, Jozu stops him. Okay, Kizaru's trying to go after Whitebeard. Okay, Marco stops him. Right? Akainu's the only one left that can really fight Whitebeard. If they had 3 characters on the same level as Marco, Jozu, Vista, or King and Queen or whatever, then this whole scenario is done. It just makes no fucking sense. We already saw this, right? Like we already saw the Vice Admirals. We get the idea of the level that they're at. And here's the thing, like here's the biggest thing that people don't talk about. If you had Vice Admirals, right, like just to understand why there's likely a big gap between Vice Admirals and Admirals, we lost 2 Admirals, right? Akainu got promoted, and Aokiji left the Marines. Over the course of the time skip, those two spots were not filled by vice admirals. The Marines were like, you guys are not good enough. We have to literally recruit randoms from outside to fill these gaps because nobody in the Marines, like, there's just a gap, right? That's what we've seen pretty consistently with the vice admirals. They had to pull in out, like they had to hire from outside because nobody else inside could cut it. It would be a damn shame if at this point in the story, Zoro and Sanji are fighting guys who are not even like considered for promotion to admiral level, if that makes sense. Name named, always good to see you, man. Thank you for being a Pirate King tier member for 10 months. Shouldn't one or two vice admirals be front runner for admiral, making them semi-close power-wise? None of them were promoted, man. Like, none of them were promoted. If Zoro and Sanji are fighting, like, again, we just saw Zoro can basically mid-diff a first mate at this point, right? His next opponent should be, like, close to admiral level. The fact that nobody, or admiral level, right? Close to or basically there, right? The fact that nobody in the Marines was considered good enough to even be like to be promoted to admiral level, right? They literally had to find random people from outside, means that it would be a huge disappointment if Zoro's basically fighting somebody that's not even good enough to fill in a vacant admiral level position, right? Like, forget being on par with like the first three admirals. It's like, okay, if one of them goes, all of you guys are shit. We're not just gonna take the next best person because the gap is too big. We're gonna find someone way better to actually adequately fill that. Keenan, thanks for the 2. Kizaru character motivation incoming. I'm excited. Yeah, I didn't know if like we're gonna be getting like Kizaru, like depth to Kizaru's character, because I just never knew if Oda's gonna write him like that. But the fact that Oda is kind of establishing his character a little bit here, and he's writing in more of a past and past for Kizaru as well as fleshing out his character relations, I think that that's really interesting. I think that there's potential for Kizaru here. And I was always of the mindset that Kizaru will be on the world government side at the final battle. I don't know at this point. I really don't know. Maybe his story ends with Egghead Island. Who knows? Like, not in like he's like killed or something sort of way, but maybe he's just defeated here and he kind of taps out from the rest of the story. Let's get the streamlights to 400 real quick, because we're real close. Abyssal Leviathan, thanks for the 2. Not all Vice Admirals are equal, plus the 1 billion bounty. I agree that they're not all equal, but the fact is that none of them were promoted to Admiral, which means that, like, even if they were considered, the world government deemed the gap too big to even be like it was just like, none of you guys are close. None of you deserve Admiral rank, basically. So it would just be disappointing. Nurugangi says, okay, in about 10 minutes I'm going to call it a stream. What's the time right now? I think I could, no, I'm going to go on a bit longer. I am a little hungry, but it's a little bit too early to be doing that. The Final Storm, thanks for the 5. Is it just me, or does it feel like Lafitte will be more than meets the eye? He gives me a strange feeling. I think we may get a hint of it at Egghead. So, a couple of the last controversial points of previous streams have been, like, power scaling Lafitte. Because some people think he's Sanji's final opponent. Because Oda has always made Lafitte look cool, and never made Lafitte look bad, and Lafitte in many ways does feel like the most mysterious of the Blackbeard pirates. So, if Lafitte is the final opponent for Sanji, in that case, Lafitte is a lot stronger than he appears. Dick so small I piss on my balls. The power source looking thing in NL's cover is filled with spirals that look like Sanji's eyebrows and devil fruit spirals. When asked about Sanji's eyebrows in SBS, Oda says spirals contain power. Okay, I don't know if you're actually trying to imply that Sanji's eyebrows flipping do give him a power up, so there is something there, but I don't know if you're actually trying to draw a connection in that sense. Oda said spirals contain power. I just don't know if that's like a trolly answer by Oda or what, but it might have just been some like secret foreshadowing of something that we actually see in the story. Jordan Vance says those canon admiral candidates were fan made. Yeah, the only admirals that we know of that were like candidates for the only vice admirals that we know of that were even candidates for vice admirals were just like some fan submissions. Jolly D Joestar, thanks for the 2. We still in basement dweller Morjar, question mark? Yes, and we will be till Monday. Because I fly home, like I fly back to my normal place on Tuesday. So I'm in my hometown, in my parents' basement till Monday. Abyssal Leviathan, thanks for the 2. But Morj, there are canon admiral candidate vice admirals. And I think I already saw the candidate the comment that answered that, which is like those are fan made. They're fan made, and like one they're fan made, right? So Oda didn't think up of any, at least on his own, that were like admiral candidates, right? So one, they're fan made. Two, they're not even fucking showing up at this island. So the only established admiral candidates from the vice admirals were not even like sent here. And three, the fact that there were admiral candidates in the vice admirals and then the Marines deemed them not good enough basically means that the gap is fairly fucking big, right? Because they kind of looked, they're like, okay, let's look at all the fucking vice admirals we have. Okay, we got a couple that are like we could consider, but you know what? Out of literally all of the Marine forces we have, even the other ones we're considering, none of them are like good enough that they could even make like a good like none of them are adequate to fill the role of admiral. So therefore we have to go outside. You get what I'm saying? Like they look through the entire Marine force, and it's not like they filled one of the two, like the two missing spots. It's not like they filled one of them with someone from internal promotion. They were literally like, okay, not a single person can fill a single spot from here. So the fact that they even considered some people inside and were like, yeah, you guys are candidates, but we're not even going to give like one of the spots to you guys. Both of the spots need to go to somebody else. It's just they're no like the vice admirals are not close to admiral level. Like it just doesn't add up because there was no internal promotion. They considered some and were basically like, you guys are too shitty to even get a single spot out of the two spots we have available. We're going to give both of them to outside people. 02657, thank you for the 50. Again, holy shit. Thank you. Did you already talk about Saturn calling Bonnie a child? Is she really a child that aged herself up, or are the elders confused about her real age, or is Saturn trying to protect her for some reason? Also, Crocomom. Okay, thanks for bringing up Crocomom. So that is an interesting question. I don't think that Bonnie is a child, like a literal child, just because I think that'd be too weird. The way that Oda has drawn her so far, I think it would just be too weird. So I don't think she's a literal child. There was a point that people were talking about initially, which was that Bonnie, when the Strats first came across her in the ocean, she was in child form. So people were like, maybe that means that her real form is a child, because when she's in the ocean, her devil fruit abilities are negated, so she's taking her true appearance. That is something to think about. But I took it more so as Saturn just saying that, like, she's just some little, like, Saturn's like 80 years old. It's just like, she's just some little girl. Like, he views her as no threat, basically. Like, you could easily call Luffy just some little kid. Like, Luffy's just some kid. Forget about him. He's, like, only 19, right? We forget because Luffy is so accomplished at this age, but, you know, like, if Luffy was a lot weaker, then you could just be like Kaido called Luffy a boy, you know what I mean? In Act 1. So, you know, I take it more so as just Saturn being like that. I am surprised that Saturn is being so dismissive of Bonnie, because at the end of the day, she's, like, a notorious pirate with a, for whatever reason, a valuable, like, we don't know the details yet, but she had some valuable ability, and they just don't seem to care at all or seem to view her as any sort of a important factor whatsoever, which is interesting. You would think that they would care, like, at least a little bit. Rhea Chia, thanks for the 2. Hashtag Mamanga for Admiral. Did Mamanga get, like, low diffed by Hancock? You know? Jolly D. Joestar, thanks for the 2. Gurren Lagann, Rasengan, Tusk 4 Spiral, Energy Sanji. Tusk 4 yeah. Spirals really do have a lot of power in manga. Kind of crazy. Jordan Fence says the gap from Admiral to Vice Admiral is very huge. Like, it's not even 1 tier, it's like 4 to 5 tiers. Yeah, like, that's my take. Like, I think we can all agree, like, Green Bull seems somewhat not intimidating compared to past Admirals, right? Like, this is not a Kainu. This is not Aokiji. This is not Kizaru. It's Green Bull, right? But they were willing to take Green Bull as Admiral. To me, that basically means that, like, They weren't looking for someone necessarily as strong as like a Kaino or Aokichi. They're like, let's just get him close enough, like Admiral tier, right? There's nobody. That means that there's no one in the vice admirals that is close to Admiral tier because they just didn't get the promotion. The spots were there. 2 spots were open. 2. Didn't get either of them. Like, just know, if Zoro Sanji fight vice admirals here, just know that whoever they're fighting were looked at and deemed to not be close to good enough to take up the position of admiral. Like, it is just established. So I think it would be wildly disappointing if we're seeing Zoro at this stage, when he's probably just a few arcs away from fighting and defeating Mihawk. At this stage in time, he is fighting someone like fucking Doberman. Brovington Jojolion, thanks for the 10. Appreciate it. Justin Hahn, thanks for the 2. Where the hell is Smoker? What is this thing? Why is there's like a 1 and balloons and stuff? I don't know what you sent, Brovington Jojolion, but it's pretty cool. I appreciate it. Where the hell is Smoker? Who knows? They didn't even send him to Egghead. And he's like right in the vicinity. They could have easily sent him over to Egghead. He's like 1 island over or something like that. Man. Silver King says Green Bull still could beat Commanders, Weevil, and Scabbards. Yeah, I agree. Like, Green Bull is still, he's an admiral, right? But that means that, like, whoever the fuck, that's basically the standard that we're looking for a Zoro or Sanji opponent at this point, right? Because that's what Zoro and Sanji can do. Like, they can beat Commanders and stuff like that without too much difficulty. So, these Vice Admirals are not Green Bull, is my point, right? So they're not even there. They would be very, very disappointing opponents. Drip Jumbe says Zoro and Sanji aren't even Admiral level themselves. Yeah, but that's the point. Where's Zoro at right now? He's basically, like, if you look at the One Piece verse, the steps that we've generally seen are like, you know, you got Yonkos, you've got Admirals, you've got basically Yonko First Mates. We're trying to see Zoro basically take that next step. He just defeated a Yonko First Mate. We're trying to see him take the next step. His next opponent should be something like an Admiral. What the fuck is he going to be doing? Like, fighting a Vice Admiral would just feel like the most pointless battle ever because there's no sense of progression. Also, if Sanji successfully defeated the Seraphim, meaning that Sanji is capable of damaging King, then Sanji is stronger than King as well at this point. That's possibly... We'd need the details first to see. But Sanji beat Queen ultimately. Like, once Sanji got his power up, he beat Queen with very little difficulty. I didn't necessarily put Sanji above King because it's like, can Sanji actually damage King? If Sanji beat that Seraphim, then yeah, Sanji I would put above King as well. Jose Lario says he barely beat King. Yeah, because he didn't have Advanced Conqueror's Haki before. Once he got Advanced Conqueror's Haki, he destroyed King. If he had Advanced Conqueror's Haki from the start, it would be basically a low mid diff. Like, just look at what he did once he got the ability. It's not. There's no point in looking at it pre-power up because he's got the power up now. Also, it's like the big thing that people aren't talking about is that Zoro also has Ashura, which is a Conqueror's Haki based ability. Now that Zoro's actually mastered Conqueror's Haki, he should be able to use Ashura much more effectively, or at least on command. And Ashura Zoro can basically, like, that's basically able to cut up Yonko. Canonically. The Final Storm, thanks for the 5. Egghead's ending could have a full circle reveal relating to the intro. Bonnie hatching out of the eddy on her way to Egghead. Bonnie is important. Bonnie hatching out of the eddy. I don't know if, like, hatching, like, I feel like that's a bit of a stretch for the imagery. Like, she was just blasted out of it. But I agree that Bonnie is very important. Lucky Man says Zoro and Sanji tag team Kizaru makes the most sense. I would love to see that. I would love to see that. Vegard Hahn says, Morj, stop focusing on the Straw Hats fights. The Vice Admirals are there to counter the Straw Hat Grand Fleet captains, like Cavendish. That would be really cool. How many Straw Hat Grand Fleet members are there again? There's 7. There's 7 commanders plus Bartolomeo. That would be so cool to see. But then who the Straw Hats fight? Who do the Straw Hats fight? The Straw Hats have no opponents then. I mean, like, Saturn and Kizaru, but then no one else. Joe Benji says Sanji versus 10 Vice Admirals, Zoro versus Kizaru, Luffy versus all Seraphims. Rashid Ben Toke says, do you think Zoro is closer to Luffy or Sanji in terms of power? I think Zoro is currently closer to Sanji. I think it's very hard to say. I think it's very hard to say because we don't. If Zoro can now use Ashura, there's too many ifs. We need to see what each of them did to the Seraphim. One, because if Sanji's attack power is higher than we thought, then that changes things, right? Two, I need to see if Zoro can let me put it this way: what Zoro did against King compared to what Luffy was doing against Kaido, I think that there's a huge gap. Like Zoro and King and Queen are obviously much closer in terms of what Zoro and Sanji are doing than Kaido, right? The question is, can Zoro do? Can Zoro use Ashura on command now? If Zoro can use Ashura, then I think that bumps him a lot closer to Luffy. Um, but at the same time, if Sanji has more offensive ability than we initially thought, like if he can do more damage, right, than we thought, then that could also bump him closer again to Zoro. So I think there's too many question marks right now, which is why the Egghead Island arc is so exciting because I think we have a really, really strong idea right now of what Luffy can do, right? I think we're still kind of questionable about like what Zoro and Sanji can do because they got their power ups and then pretty much wrecked their opponents. Zoro has Ashura. We don't know how his new power up fits with like what he could already do. Sanji defeated the Seraphim off screen. We don't know how he did that. So I think there's question marks around Zoro and Sanji. So I think I'll say this from what we've seen, like Zoro, like I think most people would agree, like Zoro defeating King, Sanji defeating Queen, the manner in which both of them did that, that puts them both much closer to each other than Luffy, who's upstairs, splitting the sky with Kaido, throwing out punches the size of Onigashima and stuff. It's just a totally different level, the battle that was going on up there compared to what Zoro and Sanji were doing. The only question is, can Zoro and Sanji do significantly more than what we saw against King and Queen? I think there's evidence to suggest yes on both sides. For Sanji, it's because of the fact that he somehow defeated a Seraphim off screen, which means that he can likely do more attack-wise than we thought. For Zoro, it's because we saw what he could do with Ashura against Kaido in the one opportunity he could use it. Can Zoro now use Ashura on command? Because that totally changes how strong he is. Caleb Brown, thanks for the 2. Is it too late in the arc for Dragon to show up? I don't want Dragon to show up here, man. Like, I want this to be the Straw Hat show. Like, this is the Straw Hat's chance to flex and show the world what they can do. Abyssal Leviathan, thanks for the 2. Imagine if Zoro fights Kizaru and Sanji fights a Vice Admiral. Oh shit, man. People would go crazy. I think that'd be too disrespectful to Sanji, honestly. I think that'd be really disrespectful. 02657, you are fucking insane. Thank you so much for the 50 again. Will Saturn get that Katakuri treatment and be exposed to witnesses? I think it's I think it's suspicious that he was adamant that no one knew he was there. And how do you feel about Imu being shown so often now? Long live Crocomon. So in terms of Saturn, I think that we are heading towards a point very soon. I feel like it might even be this arc, and I talked about that in a video. Like Luffy might be about to trigger the end of the world, right? I feel like we're heading towards a point. It's the final saga. The world government's already doing really evil shit. This arc is a lot about like knowledge and information. I feel like this arc could be the arc that the world just finds out about the true nature of the world government and like all hell breaks loose. So like in many aspects. So I think Saturn's true nature or abilities or even just his presence there, I think that could be definitely revealed right here, and I think that that could be a big deal. But I think it might be a small deal in the grand scheme of things if there's a whole if the whole cover is being blown, like maybe the fact that Emu exists is being revealed, like if the fact that the world government has a super weapon that's destroying islands is revealed, if like a lot of the information on Egghead Island all gets out, I think that this could be an opportunity for like a lot of reveals to the entire world. And I think a lot of information, I think a lot about Egghead Island seems to be heading towards that idea. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but basically I'm saying like Saturn's reveal could be like a small part of like a much bigger like series of revelations to the public about the truth of everything that's going on and the truth about the people that are running things. How do I feel about Emu being shown so often now? I think it's still really cool that Oda, to this point, has not shown Emu. Because there was a period of time when Emu's talking to Cobra and stuff, I was like, okay, next chapter we're going to see his face. Next chapter we're going to see his face. Next chapter we're going to see his face. And then Oda just kept not doing it, but he kept showing the silhouette. So now whenever Emu shows up, I expect it to be a silhouette, which I think is really, really cool because Emu is clearly having so much effect and influence on the story and on the world of One Piece in general. But every time we're seeing him, Oda's still keeping the true nature of him, I suppose, and the true, appearance, the full reveal of him has yet to come. Which just I like the amount of buildup that we're kind of getting towards this character's full sort of stepping into the light as the true final villain. I assume big moment. So I really really like that. The fact that it's being shown so often, I still think it's exciting. Anytime Emu shows up in a chapter is exciting, and we're all just waiting on the moment that I think it just adds to the sense of anticipation for waiting for the moment that we actually just get to see this guy instead of just seeing like a shadow version of him. And long live Crocomom, I agree. Bruvington Jajolion, thanks for the 5. Been a fan for a bit. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Got my first paycheck. Thought I should donate. I really appreciate it, and thanks first of all, and congrats on the job. Um, yeah, I hope you're happy with whatever you're doing. Your vid on Hunter x Hunter Succession War was my favorite. It's underrated. Yeah, it is a cool video. I was happy to finally get out a Hunter x Hunter video because um, I don't see a lot of videos on the Succession War actually like really breaking it down. And Succession War is turning into my favorite arc. I don't like the last run of chapters too much. Not dislike them, but they just haven't been that interesting to me. But what was happening on the top level with the princes and Kurapika, etc., that storyline was shaping into my favorite Hunter x Hunter arc. Excited for Wano analysis. I promise that is still on its way before Egghead Island ends in the manga. John Ross, thanks for the 5. Straw Hats get Gurren Lagann spiral power plus hockey, and the last fight is Luffy and Emu throwing galaxies like frisbees at each other. Ah, shit, don't spoil me on Gurren Lagann. I didn't know that it gets that crazy. I know Gurren Lagann is like a classic anime. I've seen the first episode of it, but the first episode didn't hook me actually enough that it made me want to keep watching. But I know it's a really well loved and revered show. Sean Easton, holy shit, man! Yeah, listen. You don't need to teach. You don't need to show 02657 anything. The last time this happened, it led to like a crazy cavalcade of gifted memberships, which I don't know. If, I still can't believe that that happened. So that kind of derailed that entire stream. Let's stay on track with this one. I still really, really fucking appreciate it though. Two can play at this game. Thanks, Sean Easton. Excellent chapter, Morj. I agree, man. I feel like this was. Have said this before, but I think this was the most exciting way Oda could have taken us back to Egghead Island. And what's crazy is that initially, remember, there was a stretch of time where like we people weren't as interested in Egghead, and we just wanted to cut away to outside world shit. And now all the outside world shit is wrapping up, and we really, really want to just stay in Egghead and watch this huge climax play out. Like this is maybe the most excited I've been for a Straw Hat fight. Like the Straw Hats to fight some people in I literally can't even. I don't remember the last time. I think largely because the nature of it is so out of the blue and so unexpected. Like Wano, we're waiting and waiting and waiting. Like we know Luffy's gonna fight Kaido. We got a good idea Zoro's gonna fight King. We know Sanji's gonna fight Queen. We know what's coming. We're just waiting on it to happen. So there was a lot of excitement going into that, no doubt. But this is all just like out of nowhere. It feels like fan fiction almost. It's like so the Straw Hats are fighting 100 ships, and there's like 9 vice admirals coming. Oh, and there's Admiral Kizaru, and there's a Gorosei, and like Lucci's there. Oh, and the Seraphim there, and like Mihawk clone, and all this stuff, and it's all just there. And Emu is watching, and like the world government is watching, and like if the world government wins, then they get the Mother Flame, which can destroy more islands. Like the stakes just all came together out of the blue so fast, and it feels like the Straw Hats are set to really just show off and flex on everyone, which is really, really exciting. And we don't know how the matchups are going to play out. We don't know how the Strats are going to get away with it. We don't know if they're going to just like wreck everybody or if it's going to be a tough battle. But this is just such a cool setup. For the Gear 5th React stream, you should also do animatoons of it on YouTube. I don't even know what that is. There are some real good ones. Crocomom will never be real. Hey, let's not, um, what's the word? There's like rain on, yeah, let's not rain on 02657's dreams. Rain on his parade. What are animatoons? Animatoons? Animatoons. What are animatoons? You should also do animatoons off of it on YouTube. Can someone clarify what is animatoons? What's animatoons, man? I need to know what animatoons are. Smile says, you've said before that the government is really stacked, but what if it fractures, just as Fujitora and Akainu splinter on moral versus absolute justice? I mean, even just with the Kizaru writing this chapter has me wondering, like, are the Marines in general gonna, and the fact that, like, we have Kobe and such up and coming as, like, the future of the Marines. I wonder if, like, the Marines kind of fracture and break apart much earlier, and, like, Sword becoming more prominent. Animated cartoons. You should also do animated Gear 5th React stream. You should also do animated cartoons if it on YouTube. There's some real. Okay, I get what you're saying. So like you're saying, for example, the one that you sent me, right? Okay. So like the one that you sent me, One Piece animated fan film, Luffy Gear 5th versus Kaido. Okay, I'm down to do that. I'm down to do that. I'll do it for you, Sean Easton. I'll do that. I can add some of those in. I'll just keep this link up for Monday. Um, but yeah, I wonder if like the Marines fracture more, and then we'd still be left with like a really really broken lineup on the world government side of Gorosei, God's Knights, Seraphim. I assume the remaining Seraphim and such, Pacifistas, things like that. Even CP0 maybe. Well, although CP0 is kind of also fracturing off. Speak of the devil, KGM, thanks for being Yonko tier member for 10 months. He says, I'm wondering why Lucci is still with the Strats at the end of this chapter. If the Seraphim are dealt with, why is he just chilling in the back? I wonder if it's because, like, so I said this before, which is that I think the Straw Hats on one end don't care enough about Lucci at this point. Like, they just don't view him as enough of a threat to pay any sign of attention to him because Luffy knows he can beat him. I imagine Zoro and maybe even Sanji have a good shot of beating him. So I just think Lucci's not big enough of a threat. And then in terms of why Lucci's just staying there, I'm like, well, maybe there's just nothing else for him to do. Like maybe he's just watching, observing the situation. Yeah, maybe he just doesn't have like a clear. Maybe there's just not a clear thing for him to do, or maybe he's invested in the internal Vegapunk conflict and he's not sure what his next step is yet. I don't know. Ender Ayanami says Lucci probably thinks he's actually getting fired this time. Yeah, like Lucci's been through the ringer in terms of this job, man. Like he, the first time around, he lost his job because of Luffy at at Enies Lobby, but then he got rehired for CP0 and all that, and now he might be about to lose his job yet again because of Luffy. That's hilarious. Jolly D. Joe Star, thanks for the 2. Straw Hats win Egghead, but get Lucia flee to the moon. I don't think they're going to the moon till we go through like Egghead, till we go through Elbaf and like Elbaf and like some of the other like grounded, like we got to finish the search for One Piece and stuff like that. I've always thought that One Piece might be on the moon itself, so it would be because it's the most fantastical destination. I think Oda might close the series, like close the journey to One Piece off with that one, possibly. Dirty Monkey, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 10 months. Where is Robin? Oh my god, what is happening? Okay, let me address this first real quick. I don't know. There is discussion that, Lafitte and Katarina Devon are on the island, so there might be some shenanigans going on, but I assume that Oda's about to do a quick chapter kind of filling us in on what happened previously, how they caught York, how they saved Vegapunk, took out the Seraphim, all that stuff, and maybe Robin's off doing some important task for something. Blackleg, thanks for being a member for 10 months. Give us a brief history of One Piece Scan Wars circa Water 7 and Enies Lobby. So, my memory of this is that there was basically, hold on, way back when it was YouTube based. At least that's where I read my chapters, from what I can recall. A lot of chapters just came out on YouTube, and I would just watch them on YouTube. Then there was a period of time that I don't remember the site, but it was a site with like a white background or something like that. I read manga on that. That would come out weekly, and it was kind of jank. And then eventually there was a site called Manga Reader, and that's where I read most of my manga on. And it was a cool site. I thought it was a very well organized site, even if the scans were maybe a bit jank. But like, I remember One Piece, Bleach, and Naruto would come out on the same day. And then two other series I read, which was like Fairy Tail and History's Strongest Disciple Kenichi. Those would also come out on a different day. So I'd have like my Kenichi slash Fairy Tail day and my One Piece, Bleach, Naruto day. This was all when I was much younger. So like, don't judge my taste in manga or whatever. But that's how I remember it. Maybe the site with the white background came out after Manga Reader. I don't remember. And then I don't remember. Yeah, I think that came out after Manga Reader. There's a site with a white background. It was very popular. I just don't remember the name. Um, it might have been so. There was the YouTube era. Then I feel like there was the Manga Reader era. And then there's this blank era. I don't remember with a white background. And then I don't remember after that really. Like I literally don't remember what the One Piece community read for years until TCB Scan came about. So 02657, thank you for gifting 20 memberships. Holy shit. I can't say I fully understand it, but I really, really appreciate it. I would like everyone to say thank you. In the future, I'm not going to be reading out everybody who has to say thank you, but I like doing it when the numbers aren't too crazy. Not a Pro 64, just to remind you guys to be thankful. Not a Pro 64, Warto, Akash Panda, Chris Grad, T-Stew, TVG H16, Green Princess, Icarus, JT. You guys all say thank you to 02657. Efrain Inu, VarpTM, Cody Long, JNelts87, Nathan Espinosa, Ramon Montoya. All of you guys make sure you say thanks. Oh, I missed a couple. Give me 1 second. Yeah, Manga Stream. That's what it was. Manga Stream was the one. Red Agrid, Viewer, Nathan Cahoon, Ajer Lodi, James Talan. All of you guys make sure you say your thanks. Show your appreciation. Everyone say thanks to 02657, emotes, etc. in the chat for 02657. You guys are members now, so you can happily put out emotes and all that stuff. Yeah, Manga Stream is the one I was forgetting. One manga, I'm remembering all of these now. There's Manga Reader, Manga Stream. One manga I don't remember which order it came into. Manga Panda I don't think I ever read. Manga Panda, Manga Stream, Jimini's Box! You guys, I forgot about Jimini's Box. That's what it was. Yeah, so I remember Manga Reader into Manga Stream. Manga Stream is the one I was thinking of with the white background. I'm pretty sure. Manga Stream was Manga Reader was my favorite because I just liked the layout and it had all the manga and it was the most easily browsable. So that was my favorite. I view that as the golden time. And that was also when I was reading, I had my 3 that I read on one day, so Naruto, Bleach, One Piece. And then I had my 2 I would read on the other day, Fairy Tail and Kenichi. That was just a nice flow. Just being able to, you can browse all these other series. This was also, I think, when I would go and like try out random series because Manga Reader was just such a great interface, in my opinion. Then was Manga Stream, which was shittier, like in terms of like its overall interface and like how many manga it had available, but maybe better quality and translations. Then Jimini's Box, which I forget. I think, did we all like Jimini's Box or hate Jimini's Box? I don't remember. Then TCB Scans, which we all hated for a bit and now have grown to love, at least in my opinion. At least more than fucking OP Scans. I remember when TCB Scans first came out, I really shit on it. And then over time, I grew to like it. And then I've even talked to the creator of it and like the person who owns it and everything. They actually interviewed for the Morj image finder position a couple years back. So now TCB and I have a good relationship, and I will defend TCB to the death. To the death. But yeah. One manga. Am I create like? Do I not remember? Like I remember one manga, but when was the Manga Reader days? Was Manga Reader and one manga like overlap? Or am I mixing up the names here? The Scan Wars were quite a like the ebb and flow of scans is like, and which side is the one we all go to has been quite a journey. Reflexy says Robin's fine. We were worried like this. End of Wano. Yeah, that's also true. When Robin's off on her own, it's actually usually good for her. It's like, Fishman Island. Where's Wano? Oh, where's Robin? She's like reading a poneglyph or some shit. Wano, where's Robin? Oh, she's reading a poneglyph or some shit. There's always interesting shit that's coming for us, the reader, when Robin's off on her own. Blackleg says OP scans making TCB stay on their toes. Yeah, I guess that's true, but OP scans are just hate the fact that they exist. Because it's just shitty quality coming out earlier, forcing TCB to maybe rush their stuff. I don't know. Manga reader and manga panda were simultaneous. Yeah, so I was a manga reader. I don't really know what maybe. I don't think I knew about manga panda till later. I just went to manga reader. But maybe it was the same scans and they were just different websites. I don't know. Pashi's asking where to watch One Piece color manga. Okay, I will always share the One Piece color manga with people because my hope is that it turns people away from the anime. Because once you take one look at the One Piece color manga, you realize that it's just better than the anime. It's got all the nice colors and all of that stuff, and perfectly paced because it's paced at your reading speed. The One Piece colored manga is honestly beautiful. I think One Piece is like there's some manga, for example, I think Berserk, I think Attack on Titan, I think Chainsaw Man, I think these type of manga are much better in black and white. I think that black and white fits their style far better. Chainsaw Man because I feel like the use of white space and minimalism is very important to that series and how it does things. Berserk because I think just in general the shading, the sense of sketchiness, etc. I think a lot of that is very, very important to the series. I think those work much better in black and white. One Piece is not like that. I think One Piece is made to be read in color. Obviously, Oda can't do that in the manga, but it is such a beautiful, vibrant, fantastic world. It is a shame not reading it in color. And I personally prefer the more muted colors of the site that I linked compared to, like, I fully respect the people that color the chapters as they come out and everything like that on, I think, OP scans or whatever. But they feel like very aggressive neon-y colors practically to me, whereas this feels more like, muted artistic colors in my opinion at the site that I just linked. It feels more like I'm reading. It feels like I'm reading a Euro comic or something like that when I'm reading that. I feel like I just love reading One Piece in color. I honestly hate going back to reread recent stuff before it gets colored. Before it gets its official coloring. So I much like going back to reread earlier parts of One Piece because it's in color. I think this is colored all the way up to chapter 1000 or something like that. CK, thanks for the 5. Robin's not there because Lucci is there. It would be kind of awkward a bit for a feel-good moment there when Lucci was dead set on killing her. I just don't know how much... the Straws brush past that shit a lot faster. And I think Robin's beef with Lucci... I think it was more so her and Spandam, and Lucci was just the bodyguard / enforcer. Obviously Robin's not gonna like Lucci at all, but I think the deeper animosity was between her and Spandam. And honestly, I feel like the Straws would tell Lucci to leave the room in that case instead of Robin, But you might be right there. Maybe Robin just quietly excused herself because she didn't want to be in the same room as CP0. Japanese Jim, thanks for the 5. Donating for @IgnorantWeed. What? Okay. He says, if it was backwards, and the One Piece anime was what came out first instead of the manga, same gap, would you watch? That's a really interesting question. The One Piece anime was coming out first. Yeah, of course. Of course I would watch that. Of course. No question. I would just need to be getting the story. Of course. And I would view the One Piece anime as the canon version and stuff, and anything that's in the manga I would view as basically this is just a drawn version of it. In terms of, what I would think would be better... in my mind, if there's an animated version of a show and then I'm reading a drawing of it later, it would be hard for me to be as attached to the drawn version, even if if they were coming out simultaneously. I think that's the best way to put it. If they were coming out simultaneously, I would view the manga as the definitive way, because the anime is just the episodes are just so fucking difficult to watch. It's just like a slideshow, right? It's so difficult. Like the viewing experience is genuinely painful with the anime, right? Um, and it's just a damn shame. Like the animators literally just won't try for extended segments. They just won't try. Like not on their bad. I understand there's budgeting and scheduling, and they can only put so much time, etc. But I'm just saying, like literally, like you're just watching stuff that's not real animation. It's like, like people talking about like Marco blocking Kaido's Boro breath, right? You're just watching and you're just like, this is just like some bullshit to fill time. Like this is just like it's basically like how amateurish can we go with this? Crank that shit to like 100. It literally doesn't matter. Like there's no limit practically to how amateurish or how crude or how rough they can just like bullshit a scene. There's just no limit. They can do whatever the fuck they want. They will put in their effort for the little bit like small segments or like their special episodes, but in general the anime is so ridiculously bad because there's no floor to how bad you can do a scene. Like you probably can't do Marco blocking Kaido any worse possibly than what they did there. And it's just entire episodes are filled with that. Like full stretches of episodes are filled with that type of shit. So the anime is genuinely terrible. If it was coming out at the same time as the manga, I'd be like, the manga is clearly the better experience, right? Wouldn't watch the anime. If the anime was coming out first, I'd be watching the anime. I'd be watching the anime because that's like that the story's coming out faster and faster there. And I probably would be, because it's coming out first and the manga's so far behind, I probably would just be viewing that as the definitive version. I don't know how motivated I'd be to go back and read the same thing that I watched. Sumarization, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 6 months. Morj, I love the new setup. You look like you should be the new host of Blues Clues. I don't know what that means, but okay, I appreciate it. Did Blues Clues take place in jail? Oh, I forgot. The person, he always sits on a couch, right? Yeah, he's always on a couch. Blues Clues went through several iterations of people. Um, Umir Ula, thanks for the 5. If Mihawk is the world's strongest swordsman while Shanks is alive, and Whitebeard was world's strongest pirate while Roger was alive, shouldn't all Mihawk stands have Whitebeard above Roger? Uh, wait, what? I don't know if Whitebeard was the world's strongest pirate while Roger was alive. I don't know where that was stated. Beat Gamer 99 says last episode of the anime was so obvious as stalling for the next 3 episodes. Yeah, that's the thing. Like the anime, it's just not a real show. It's just not a real show. It's genuinely not a real show because it's, how do I explain it? It's I view the anime more like as a showcase, if that makes sense. Like they will animate, like they will put genuine, like they will try and animate and adapt and elevate a section of the manga. They will try and do that for segments. They will, right? Like Gear Fifth, I'm sure. Like certain episodes, like Luffy arriving on the roof, or like the ending of Sanji versus Queen, or Zoro versus King. Like they will try and animate sections of the show, but those are segments of the show. Then everything else in between, it's more like, well, technically we have to like have something there, right? So it's kind of like a slideshow or some really crudely, childishly done thing, or like some really, really stiff shit, or it's like just a million reaction shots, or just basically a bunch of nothing and like slight movement and like a lot of flashbacks and recap. Like it's just I don't even know what to say because it's not a real show. Like you can't take the One Piece anime and compare it to any other. Like the closest thing I can fucking think of is like Record of Ragnarok. The quality of Record of Ragnarok, if you guys have seen that Netflix show, is essentially what the One Piece anime is 90% of the time. And then there's like segments where it's like, okay, now is our time for the showcase, and now we're gonna actually have people like professionals animate and do stuff and stuff like that to adapt the manga. It's more like a production to adapt certain scene. Like, I think of it more like the anime exists to adapt certain scenes from the anime, from the manga. Like, it exists to adapt certain scenes from the manga. That's what it is. And then like everything else is not a real show. It just isn't. It's like the quality of it is just so rough, so crude, so amateurish, so low effort, so like basic, so PowerPoint presentation-y that it's closer to that than an actual animated show. You just can't put it side by side, with any other anime, seasonal or not, and like pretend that it's a real thing. Reflexy, thanks very much. Did you see Nami in episode 1070? Homegirl had balls. I don't need to because I already saw it in the manga, which is the canon version. Fenrir says, animation expert over here. I'm not an animation expert, but like I can tell you when there's no animation going on. I don't think you need to be an animation expert to say like, hey, these are a bunch of still frames. There is no movement. Or this is just something that is being played on loop over and over again to avoid having to animate something new. I can tell you when it's not happening. Like, I can't tell you the details of animation, but I can tell you what they're not doing. Some parts of anime are watchable only sped up. Yeah. Alright, guys. I'm probably going to call the stream right about here. Mostly because my neck is really hurting. We've only got one more stream left in this setup. And then from next Thursday onwards, we will be back to... Well, there's no chapter next Thursday. But after next Monday's stream, we'll be back to usual streaming quality. Um, I'm... sorry. I'm very happy that people stuck around for these prison streams, I suppose. I'm glad you guys enjoyed them. But yeah, we will be back to our usual good video, good audio quality starting next stream. And everyone, again, shout outs to 02657. If you got a membership, then like emote or some shit to thank him. But yeah, besides that, we're going to wrap it up for today. Really great chapter, really, really great stuff. Yeah, I'm just going to go eat, record the Morjcast for tomorrow, and then call it a night. Wait, we're on break again? Yes, Japanese Jim, we are on break again. It's just some, I think all Shonen Jump's on break. I might be wrong. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Appreciate it.